Hi, horses. Stream on Twitch instead. I can't do that. That's a cruel joke. We're waiting for our interview subject to get here. And I will chat with you in the meantime.
Oh, I gotta turn that off. Okay, here we go. Yeah, is that better? I think we're gonna have some. Yeah, my camera audio was on. We're gonna have some technical difficulties here. I can tell you that right now. My sound is off. Hey, is it fixed? Fixed. Okay, great. Yeah, the delay is crazy, so I'm like, I have no idea if I fix it. Yeah, sorry, my camera audio was on. So yeah, this guy should be here soon. Oh my god, even Shaylin is messaging me about my shitty audio. That's when I really crossed the line. You come to expect it. Good. Well, I don't want to disappoint you. I don't know anything about the band. Oh my god, this is so... Look, he's here. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Misha?
Oh, wow, look at this.
I know. So here, let me get you set up and lit. Guys, I'll be right back. 1 second. I'm live now, but it's pretty low. So would you like to have a seat? I can put yourself wherever.
Sure. Okay, so I guess half an hour.
Sure. Whenever you gotta go.
Okay.
You can just slip.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Thank you. So.
Do you have a link to this?
Yeah. I can send it to you, of course.
Okay.
Okay.
Just. This kind of Q&A thing, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, you can kind of say whatever. As I said.
No, I'd much prefer it to be more of a Q&A than.
Oh, okay, great.
So because you can understand what the audience is and what they can, maybe asking or feeling or.
Yes. I really on that, and then we can fill us in on what we're missing. Okay, let me just make sure you sound good. All right, guys, how does he sound? Do you mind talking a little bit, Misha?
How does it sound?
Keep talking, please.
Yeah, does it sound great? Should they maybe say something else?
No, this is perfect. Okay, I think. Okay, keep going.
What do you want me to say?
Perfect.
Nice to see you here.
Nice to see you too. All right, I think we're good. Okay. Fixed. Okay, great. Okay.
Can you can you text me the link to this?
Oh, right now?
Yeah, I will just texted someone.
Yeah, sure. Oh, you want somebody to watch live, of
Yeah.
course. Okay. YouTube.com/mrgirl_returns.
Hold on a second. Let me. So are you using WhatsApp at all, or?
No, I don't use WhatsApp. And so we might have some viewer questions,
Okay.
and I'll let you know if they ask questions.
Okay.
Okay, so do you want to introduce yourself first, and can I give us a broad picture of why you're a good person to talk to about this? Because I was looking at the University of Oregon staff or faculty, and like you jumped out as like the perfect person to talk to. So you're actually the only person I requested an interview with.
Max, thanks. Yeah, my name is Misha. I'm a University of Oregon political science professor. I've been with the University of Oregon for the past 26 years, believe it or not. And in fact, throughout my career, I actually studied Ukraine quite a bit. I wrote a book published in Cambridge University Press and co-authored with my friend from Caltech, Peter Ordashuk, on detecting election fraud. That book was largely about the ill-fated election of Mr. Yanukovych, whose essentially coup against in 2014 kind of started the chain of events which led to where we are now. So essentially, I'd love to field whatever questions you guys might have, and we are in a interesting, so to speak, but very uncertain world.
Yes. Okay, so the general view now seems to be, in my world, is that the general view on social media is that Russia has invaded Ukraine. Putin is like Hitler. A very one-sided. It's extremely polarized, basically. So Putin is doing this either because he's evil, he's greedy. Then there's some more sophisticated reads, I guess, that he feels that his back is against the wall because of the expansion of NATO or potential expansion of NATO with Ukraine. So we're missing, I assume, a lot of nuance in Putin's motivations and the context for why this all happened, because it's presented as he just invaded out of the blue as like a land grab.
So what's your question? Is it true? Is it not true? Or you would like me to go into more details about what led to this?
What do you think is going on?
Okay, so thanks. First and foremost, let me tell you that as a full disclosure, that I'm a Russian citizen.
Okay.
And again, in Russia, there are certain laws now in effect, in particular regarding what you can call what's happening, and it's called special operation. And
so it would be against the law for you to call it a war.
Yeah, basically it'd be against the law for me to call it a war. So
Okay.
I'm gonna be cautious here, right? Understandably, because I'm following the laws both in Russia and in the United States.
Okay.
That's number one. So, but now getting back to your question, basically the short answer, it's complicated.
Okay.
And now let me go into the into the long answer.
Okay.
So let me get a little bit into the history so that everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
In the late 80s, when the Soviet Union was about to collapse, the political decisions were basically made between Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. And
Okay.
at that time, of course, the United States was getting a prize that they could never dream of. Essentially, the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact. And the United States was reasonably willing to give Russia whatever they wanted for that much of a gift, because that would allow Ronald Reagan to claim that he was an architect of winning the Cold War.
Okay.
And at that time, and again, there are some debates about that, but it's pretty much conventional wisdom now, that at that time, a promise was made to Russia, to Soviet Union. At the time, Russia became the the offspring, the main offspring of the Soviet Union. The promise was made to not expand NATO. And in fact, again, for a number of years, for basically up to 6 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that promise had been kept. In fact, those were the golden years of relationship between Russia and the West. Boris Yeltsin had very good relationship with Bill Clinton. Frequently visited him. Bill Clinton was in Moscow, so there was no kind of issue about NATO or United States threatening Russia. In fact, the United States kind of in some awkward way tried to help Russia develop financial institutions, reform the economy. Soviet Union was, of course, the communist country with planned economy. So, and even the political system of Russia, which was formed back in the 90s, very closely resembled the political system in the United States, where there is a kind of two-chamber parliament, the office of the president, who is elected every then 5, now 6 years, and so on and so forth. So basically, things were good, so to speak, right? Things were good. Also, things were good between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine became an independent country as a result of the agreement signed between Boris Yeltsin, then Ukrainian President Kuchma, and then the president of Belarus, deep in the woods in Belarus, which essentially that agreement was kind of the last nail in the coffin of the Soviet Union. And again, for a while, Ukraine-Russian relations were good. I mean, just to give you an idea how little problems they had, you know what the main problem was in that relationship was that the Russian natural gas, which was Russia was exporting to Europe using the old Soviet pipeline, which going through the territory of Ukraine, was being kind of robbed regularly. So Ukraine would make a hole in the pipeline and steal some gas.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
I mean, these are minor, really not really kind of
Quarrels.
yeah, I mean, there's problems, yeah, kind of quarrels, but everything was sort of going well.
Okay.
Right? Then in 1997, NATO expanded. At that time, NATO admitted some of the former Soviet satellite states, Hungary, I believe, Czech Republics. I don't remember the exact countries, but basically NATO expanded in 1997. And at that time, Mr. Cannon, who's one of the
Oh, don't worry about it.
let me turn off the phone. Yeah, at that time, Mr. Cannon wrote a very important article. I think it was in New York Times, where he basically said, "Listen, this is bad. This is wrong. This is a time bomb which is going to explode eventually." Of course, on the Russian side, even though Yeltsin was not happy about that, I mean, Yeltsin was ailing already. He was in the kind of last years of his presidency. He still believed in good relationship with Bill Clinton. And Russia was in many ways run by so-called oligarchs, by powerful money bags who had very close ties to the West. That's where they're making their money, and they didn't want any conflicts with the West. So now, what's happened right after that? Mr. Putin became the leader of Russia. He became first the prime minister, and then in 99, and then in 2000, the president of Russia. And Putin inherited a lot of mess because Yeltsin, in many ways, during the last years of his presidency, he wasn't really controlling much. He kind of let things loose, and once you let things loose in Russia, nothing good happens. Russia is such a big and eclectic country which is used to some sort of strong-hand authoritarian rule. So Putin's job is basically to clean up the mess.
Okay.
And he rolled up his sleeves, and I would say very successfully. He was doing his job for quite a bit. Now I want to say something that you probably may not have heard on CNN or Fox News or whatever.
Okay.
As Putin became president, him and then, of course, he became president almost at the same time as George W. Bush. They developed very good relationship. They had chemistry. When Bush would fly to Moscow, Putin would invite him to his home. Putin has this nice antique Volga car. They would ride together, go for a drive. Putin would fly to America. Bush would invite him to go to his ranch in Texas, and they would drive a truck together, right?
Okay.
So these guys had good relationship, and at that time, Putin actually applied to NATO. Well, not formally applied, but he expressed interest about Russia actually joining NATO. Think about this: Russia joining NATO.
Okay.
At that time, NATO said no. Basically, we don't want Russia to be a part of us. Go take a hike. I mean, again, we can speculate now. I mean, it would be pure speculation why NATO made this, in my view, tremendous blunder. I mean, what we're seeing now is essentially, in my view, is the result of three events that happened. One is expansion of NATO in '97, which was not in any way, shape, or form agreed upon by Russia, even though the promise had been made. Number two, the decline, the rejection of Russia's interest to join NATO sometime after. And then I'm going to talk about the third a little bit later. But that thing, again, sort of made Putin probably think about what was going on. But at that time, again, he was busy about cleaning up the mess in Russia, kind of bringing that country back to order. And by about 2005 or so, he accomplished a lot. I mean, I actually think that he's a very, very successful president.
He's quite popular.
Very popular. So
is he still popular?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm sitting in Eugene, Oregon, and of course, the events of the past week changed a lot of things, and I'm not sure that there are reliable opinion polls which you can trust taken over the past 3 or 4 days, considering the situation. But then
how would you? I know I've seen you've written some papers on social media, online engagement, and what it reflects of about the belief systems of the people and their online activity. So how would you gauge if there is misinformation or disinformation? How would you gauge Putin's popularity?
Well, again, my guess, and this is a pure guess, would be that he is still quite popular, especially among certain groups of population.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Do you want to be more specific about what groups?
Well, it's mostly, I would say, again, some sociologists may correct me, but I would say mostly people who live in regions outside of major places like Moscow and St. Petersburg, a lot of people in rural areas, probably people kind of my age type people. So, I mean, the typical sort of conservative base, voters base, what we would call in the United States.
Okay.
So nothing unusual there.
Okay.
So essentially, let me go back to 2005.
Sure.
So by the time he kind of cleaned up the mess in Russia, he started looking at what was, essentially cleaning up the mess with foreign relations and kind of making sure that Russia would get the same respected position in the world as it was during the Soviet times.
Okay.
Now, let me just kind of make a little bit of a footnote here so that your viewers understand that.
Okay.
Russia is a very special country in many ways. It's special in that it's very proud, people in Russia are very proud of their sort of mission to save the world, so to speak. They're proud of their culture, they're proud of their history, rightfully. Russia produced some of the best scientists, artists, athletes, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of pride. Also, Russians are very proud of the role they played during the World War II, that they basically, together with former Soviet republics, with the tremendous cost to themselves, essentially liberated the world of fascism and Hitler. Russia also is known historically for basically fighting some devastating wars against major empires where they were weaker and winning those wars, right? Napoleon, of course, comes to mind. Germans, Turks, Swedes.
Are you categorizing this as different from the kind of American patriotism or pride that people here might feel?
Yes, I mean, look, Americans never had the foreign army tanks at the outskirts of Chicago or New York, right? Americans, by and large, as population, Americans don't know what it means to fight the war. I mean, for Americans, war is a mostly theoretical thing, right? Something they read about in the books and something that they maybe seen on television.
Or it's something you go do,
Right.
rather than something
Right.
that,
I mean,
that comes
for
to you.
Russia, war is a very real thing. I mean, Russia had to defend its territory over several centuries, and Russia lost lots of people. And Russia saw enemy's army burn Moscow to the ground in 1812, for example. German troops could see the Kremlin walls in their binoculars in the fall of 1941. Think about this. And in all of those cases, Russia ended up not just winning the war, but basically destroying a major empire which by that time conquered most of Europe, if not the world.
Okay.
So Russians have very, very strong feelings about the sort of role and place in history, and they would never be viewed as the kind of afterthought of international politics, right? So that's very important to understand. So this is not, basically, to put it simple, this is not the country that you can push around, even if you believe that this country is much weaker than you, right? And sort of and much less capable of imposing any kind of cost on you, right?
Yeah.
In America, it's a different. I mean, it's a different story. In America, because again, there is no history of war. There is a very kind of specific kind of patriotism in America. A lot of scorecards in America, a lot of pride comes from wealth and money, and how much you consume, and so on and so forth. So, in American mind, if somebody threatens you, essentially taking all your money away, and making your not buy a new car every other year, and making you consume less, right? And you go to Costco and it's empty. It's horrifying, right?
Yeah. Empty shelves.
Yeah. For Russia, it's not.
Okay.
For Russia, it's not. I mean, we live through those things. So why I'm saying all this? Well, I'm saying all this because essentially what Vladimir Putin started paying attention at once he kind of cleaned up mess inside the country, he started looking around the world and kind of realizing that, well, the world, and especially NATO, had been pushing Russia around for the previous several years. And in 2007, he essentially gave that famous speech in Munich at the International Security Conference attended by world leaders, where he said, you know what, guys, screw you. You've been lying to us about non-expanding NATO. You broke whatever promises you made to us. We're not going to tolerate this anymore. I mean, we're going to start resolving that problem. That was 2007, so it was 15 years ago.
Okay.
At that time, very few people, I mean, even though, people like John McCain were saying that, oh, gee, that's kind of return of the Soviet mentality and so on and so forth. But very few world leaders took that seriously. I mean, it kind of looked more like a bunch of complaints and, mumbling and jumbling. But that was a big mistake that the West made. West didn't realize that Russia was back, and what Kennan essentially was warning people in 1997 eventually came to fruition in starting 2007. So then it just so happened, and it so happened for all sorts of different reasons, that the key battleground in that standoff between Russian leadership ambitions and goals of restoring sort of Russian, position of not being pushed around in the world, in the Western view of how the world should be, became Ukraine. So that was there. You may ask why Ukraine. Well, It's just several unlucky circumstances that came together. First of all, it's geographic location, right? Pretty much every army that ever invaded Russia through Ukraine. And Ukraine is this big chunk of flat land between Western Europe, Poland, Hungary, and so on and so forth, and Russia. So for Russia, strategically, Ukraine is tremendously important. Secondly, it's a lot of economic ties. I mean, Russian ICBMs were made in Ukraine, for example. Some of the Russian airplanes were made there. It's a big country. It's a country size of France, of 40 million people. And as I believe Henry Kissinger said once, that without Ukraine, Russia would never be an empire again. That was in Kissinger's word. So U.S. essentially started paying very close attention at Ukraine and started to figuring out how to draw Ukraine into their own sphere of influence. Of course, again, at that time, many Ukrainian people were kind of split half and half. I mean, half were oriented more toward Russia, half more toward the West. The cleavage was right along the language lines. So those who spoke Ukrainian language would be oriented toward the West, and those who spoke Russian would be oriented toward.
You're saying that the U.S. was trying to draw Ukraine into their sphere of influence as a strategic move
Yes,
to keep
absolutely.
to keep Russia in check.
Absolutely, there is no doubts in my mind about that. I mean, U.S. set up all sorts of quote unquote educational programs in places like Stanford and elsewhere, where they would bring in some Ukrainian activists and they would kind of indoctrinate them into Western liberal ideology. And I'm not saying that those things are bad. I mean, I'm just saying that that's what U.S. was doing. So U.S. was definitely kind of sort of having a desire to draw Ukraine away from Russia
To seduce Ukraine, if you
yeah,
will.
yeah. And again, I mean, think about this. From the point of view of the Ukrainian, U.S. and the Western Europe is a much better welfare, nicer place than Russia, as far as they were concerned. So a lot of Ukrainians were kind of receptive to that, so to speak.
Okay.
You see, and if that were happening under, say, Boris Yeltsin, for example, or Gorbachev, it'd probably be a great success. I mean, Ukraine would be now like Moldova, or possibly even some like Baltic states, probably be a candidate to become part of the European Union or whatnot. But it was Russia, and it was Vladimir Putin, who was really at that time paying very serious attention at Russian national security, and he did not like the fact that that's what the United States was doing. So then came 2014. In 2014, essentially there was a military coup in Ukraine, which resulted in the ousting and fleeing of popularly elected, totally lawfully elected President Viktor Yanukovych. In fact, I wrote an article before that where, as a specialist in election fraud, I analyzed the elections of Viktor Yanukovych, and those were clean, free, and fair elections. So I have a peer-reviewed article published about that. So essentially, the pro-Western forces, whatever you want to call it, changed the calculus completely. At that time, Yanukovych had to flee to Russia, and Vladimir Putin, at that time, essentially declared that Crimea, which was part of Ukraine, was now part of Russia. Mm-hmm. Again, you want to use whatever word you want for this, but
annexed is the popular.
Well, again, let me again just make a footnote here,
sure,
so that people understand. If anybody tells you that at that time people in Crimea were against that, or that people in Crimea, that the referendum that Russia held, asking people if they want to be part of Russia, if anybody tells you that it was fake, don't listen to those people. People in Crimea wanted to be part of Russia, overwhelmingly, with certain exceptions.
Okay, but to clarify, is it illegal for you to say that he annexed Crimea?
Well, again, look, I'm not a lawyer, and
Might it be illegal?
I'm a professor. I don't really care about labels. I care about facts, right?
Well, at the start of the interview, you did say that there's legal. I just want to
Well, yeah, like you said,
clarify that
war.
some of the language you're using, you have to use.
Well, I know that yeah, there are certain laws in Russia now about how you can and cannot call the events that's happening, but I think your listeners, your viewers, are much more interested about facts than labels. I hope. I mean,
Yes, but you said he declared that Crimea was part of Russia, and you
Right.
said you can call it whatever you want. So you did bring up the topic of labels, and I want to point out that I can call it whatever I want, but you may not be able to call it whatever you
well,
want.
you see, as a professor, as a scientist, right?
Yes.
I'm trying to stay kind of neutral. I'm trying because sometimes when you put forward a label, like say the word annexation, it's a little bit charged word, right?
Absolutely.
It kind of implies certain things.
Yes.
And as a scientist, as a scholar, I'm used to work with facts and data,
Okay.
and that's what I care about. And I will let other people, put labels on them. So, speaking of Crimea, again, what
Yes.
are the facts? Crimea, again, historically, it's part of Russia, always been part of Russia. Not only that, Russia has extremely big, emotional, military, and other kind of ties to Crimea, because that's where some of the major battles were fought by Russian military since times of the Catherine, right? Catherine the Great. I mean, Russia fought British there, they fought Frenches there, they fought Turks there, they fought Germans there. So Crimea is really, very important, very significant. That's obviously the place where Russian major military and naval base is, and a place called Sevastopol. So those are, important things. Again, people in Crimea were overwhelmingly willing to be part of Russia. So you may ask, so how come Crimea was part of Ukraine? Well, that's an unfortunate kind of bureaucratic inheritance of the former Soviet Union. Nikita Khrushchev, who was the leader of the Soviet Union, who had very close ties in Ukraine, who was the leader of Ukrainian Communist Party before he became the leader of the Soviet Union, he just kind of signed off Crimea to Ukraine as a part of a sort of bureaucratic thing in 1950s, right? Mm-hmm. At that time, it really didn't matter anything because it was just part of one country. I mean, imagine, the governor of, say, Oregon signs off some, county to Idaho. Well, it may, it's going to be a much bigger deal in the U.S. than, say, it was back in the Soviet Union. It really didn't matter. So again, Crimea was essentially brought back into Russia without any shots fired, without any casualties or anything. People liked it. So, but the West didn't like it. The West really, really didn't like it because they suddenly realized that Vladimir Putin can show his teeth, the strength, and
so you're saying this is part of the tug of war over Ukraine?
Right. It's all part of war. Of course, right after 2014, what also happened in some parts of the eastern Ukraine, which now you probably heard on TV a lot, Donetsk and Luhansk, the local sort of separatists, guerrillas, whatever you want to call them, effectively said, no, we don't want to be part of Ukraine, which bans Russian language, which harasses Russian people. We want to have our own republics. And Russia was, morally and in some other ways supporting them as well.
Okay.
So, and that thing kind of was sort of sitting there as a frozen conflict, essentially, up until very recently, where I think it became clear to Russian leadership that the plan of NATO and the plan of the Western Europe is to get Ukraine into NATO and bring them into the Western world. And that's what Vladimir Putin did not want to tolerate. and that's why he basically just. Can we pause for a second?
Sure.
Let's
Yeah, I can just talk to the chat while you
yeah, just pause for a second.
handle whatever you
because
need
of
to handle.
something. And you know, it's essentially the feeling of Vladimir Putin was that, look, I'm being pushed around again, and we need to have some kind of permanent solution where Russia is really sort of has its fair place in the world, and it's not being pushed around. But that's where it kind of hit the American arrogance, I would say. You see,
American arrogance?
yeah, in America we believe that, look, we're the strongest, most powerful country in the world. We got the biggest military in the world. We spent on war more than pretty much all the other countries combined. So we can tell anybody what they should be doing. So essentially, we can push anybody around. That's kind of, if we don't like what this country is doing, well, we'll deal with that. And we don't care what they want. We didn't like Saddam Hussein. Well, who cares what Saddam Hussein wants or what people want? We're gonna go use whatever fake pretext is out there, but we're gonna go and kill the guy. We didn't like, you know, things in Afghanistan. Yeah, I mean, let's go and do it. I mean, we didn't like what people in Serbia were doing back under, you know, Bill Clinton. Yeah, let's go bomb, you know, middle of Europe. Fine. So this is sort of because again, for American people, war, it's something that's fought elsewhere. It looks like a good video game or so. American soldiers usually don't die, or if they die, they might be from, you know, some poor neighborhoods or states in the United States that don't get on front pages of, you know, Wall Street Journal or New York Times or whatnot. So, you know, and unfortunately, what I think American leadership didn't realize that they were dealing with completely different situation there. They couldn't really tell Putin to go and take a hike because Russia is not the country, especially Russia under Vladimir Putin, that could be pushed around. So when Putin asked, and this is where, again, this is very important for your leaders to understand, the two main requests that Putin made in writing to Joe Biden were essentially, number one, please promise us you'll never bring Ukraine into NATO. Please. And number two, please promise to us that you will not expand NATO closer to our borders. Those were two main requests. To both of them, Joe Biden told Vladimir Putin to go and take a hike. Basically, the Americans call both of those are non-starters. You know, there is.
Okay, sorry. You said don't expand NATO, and what was the second one?
And promise that Ukraine is not going to be part of NATO.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, make us this promise, he said, in writing.
Okay, and he said no.
Yeah, and Joe Biden said no. So
Okay.
those were essentially two things which I believe, and again, I can't get into Vladimir Putin's mind, that, we are being pushed around again. So we are being pushed around because we made some fairly reasonable request. We didn't ask for anybody's territory. We didn't, you know, made an ultimatum of killing somebody. We just, you know, just basically said, listen, we believe that for security of Russia, it's very important that NATO stays where it is.
Does the U.S. believe that for the security of the U.S., NATO needs to expand?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, it's inconceivable me to even think about how country like Russia, for example, can be threatening security of the U.S. Moreover, the whole idea of NATO, I think it's obsolete. It's an atavism of the Cold War, and the main reason for NATO to exist is for American military-industrial complex to make money there.
Well, even if you disagree, do you think that American politicians believe that NATO is necessary for the security of the U.S.? I guess my point is it seems like
I believe that, and again, I'm a professor, I can believe in things, is anybody? I believe that up until basically now, the main purpose of promoting NATO was for the U.S. military-industrial complex to make money. and the U.S. because pretty much all the arms and equipment and everything which is out there are American weapons. Also, it's a good way of kind of maintaining control over again.
But I guess just because you keep framing it as if Russia asks the U.S. to not allow the Ukraine to join NATO, that's reasonable. But if the U.S. says no, then they're pushing Russia around. Like, I guess I'm saying, is there a flip side of that where the U.S. feels that they're being pushed around if Russia makes this request and feels that if they say yes, they capitulate to it, then...
I mean, look, think about this way. Let's say Russia got really friendly with, say, Mexico.
Yeah.
And Russia formed a military alliance with Mexico.
Yeah.
And Russia signed some agreement that, in case of war with the United States, Russia is going to defend. I mean, if the United States attacks Mexico, then Russia is going to help them. And Russia comes over and puts a major military base or set of military bases and say ICBMs and tactical cruise missiles and stuff like that in places like Tijuana or on the Texas border. So how happy you think US would be about that? Wouldn't it be reasonable on the part of the US to tell Russia, you know what, guys, yeah, we understand, but can you please at least keep your military bases away from like 10 miles away from our border?
I'm not saying that it's unreasonable. I'm saying that it would also be reasonable for. I mean, I'm asking you if perhaps both parties are acting reasonably.
No, I don't think that U.S. acted reasonably.
Okay, that's the sense I'm getting.
And again, this is sort of, let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Back in 1993 or 1994, when I was a graduate student at Caltech, there was I was in Los Angeles and California and Pasadena. At that time in the LA area, there was that O.J. Simpson trial. So O.J. Simpson was on trial for allegedly murdering his wife. And there was all this DNA evidence and everything that basically he did that. And I remember, and at that time, of course, it was before, smartphones, internet. We were all sitting, professors and students were sitting in the hallway and watching the verdict. And the verdict came up not guilty. And one of the very famous professors, I'm not going to say the name, said, that's irrational. They came up with this irrational decision. And somebody else said, no, Charlie, it said, it's rational. It just, they have different rationale than you do. So that's why, that's when you are saying that would it be sort of reasonable for the United States to request that Russia goes take a hike? Well, it would be if the United States wanted to basically extract value from pushing countries around and making money off the military-industrial complex, right? Then it would be reasonable. So if the United States were after peace in Europe, then I don't think it's reasonable. So it kind of depends on what your goal is. If you want to expand NATO, and the only reason, really, to expand NATO is to exert your influence.
To be clear, the request is not don't court Ukraine. It's don't allow Ukraine to join.
Right. Yeah, Ukraine is basically promise us. Look, we got great model of this. The country called Finland.
But if the U.S. takes orders from Putin to not allow Ukraine to join NATO, in effect, Putin is already kind of ruling Ukraine by proxy just through that decision.
Absolutely not. Again, that's why I started talking about.
But
Finland.
he's making decisions about their political allies.
Well, he's not making decisions. He's basically saying
military allyship through the U.S. Putin would be dictating those terms.
Well, he would not be dictating those terms. He would go out there and say, "Listen, look."
You're saying he made this demand that the U.S.
But Max, that's how the world works. I mean, let me remind you.
I'm not saying it's not how the world
Let-
works. I'm just pointing out that yes, there would be no reason to invade and take over the government if we, by proxy, would allow him to make decisions for their government.
Well, it's not it's not the decision for their government. It's a decision for the military bloc. That you
Okay,
co-
well,
that
so
you
whatever.
control.
I mean, but the government.
It's not about their government. He essentially said this. He said, "Listen, I understand that United States is in control of NATO. Basically, United States and NATO is pretty much the same thing. So, and we want you to promise us that the country called Ukraine
Can't
is not
join.
is not going to be part of that membership."
Are you saying if Mexico offered to allow Russia to build military bases there, Russia would say, "Oh no, that wouldn't be fair to the United
No,
States"?
I would say that the United States at that time would probably
Well-
tell Russia that it's not a good idea. I mean, Max, let's go back to 1962.
Okay.
In 1962, Russians were building the military bases and installing ICBMs in Cuba. The US President JFK, President Kennedy, went out there and said, "Listen, guys, here is the ultimatum. You take your rockets away and go take a hike out of here, and I don't want to see you nowhere near Cuba, or I'm going to start the war." That's what John Kennedy said, right? And Khrushchev said, "Okay, the world stability is a way more important thing than certain ambitions." And he took his rockets and shipped them back.
Okay.
So, essentially, what we
This is a preemptive move to stop the same thing from happening.
exactly.
Okay.
So essentially, the U.S. did this in 1962. Russia was doing something way milder. They weren't telling Americans to go take the rockets out of Europe or disband NATO or.
Well, they're
All they basically said, "Listen, we don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO. So what?"
why? You can't really. I don't think we can call it mild, given the reaction to. It's not just a mild request when the reaction to the answer no is a invasion. I mean,
And again, I don't care about labels. In my view, this is a very minor request. Again, considering that no one had any plans for Ukraine to be in there. The NATO Charter itself basically bans admitting any country with unresolved border issues, which Ukraine had in Crimea and in Donetsk. So it wasn't really the reason why.
well, but wasn't Putin causing those unresolved border issues?
Well, it was his reaction to the completely illegal military coup which happened in 2014 and resulted in the ousting of the lawfully elected president.
Okay. Okay, so where are we now?
Well, we are now in a basically between the rock and the hard place.
Okay.
We are now in a very, very difficult situation. And I think we might be actually closer to potentially World War III in a nuclear war than we were in 1962.
Okay.
Because what United States and their satellite countries did with all the sanctions, they effectively put Vladimir Putin into the corner, and they impose the sanctions to the effect that they effectively drive Russian economy into Stone Age, right?
Yeah.
If those sanctions are all implemented, soon Russia will have no airplanes, they'll have no cars, they'll have significant damage to their agricultural sector. They will have no normal banking. Even worse, the Russia was saving money for the rainy day, close to $700 billion, and pretty much all that money was either blocked or stolen by the U.S. sanctions. So the rainy day fund, they effectively left the president of the country, which possesses power to guarantee a tie in the war against the United States. They put him in a position where he doesn't have that many choices to make.
You're saying nuclear war being one of the few remaining choices he can make.
Well, again, first time in my life, and I've been living long, enough, I'm 53-year-old. I think first time in my lifetime, I am saying that as we sit here now, the probability of nuclear war is not zero.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but it's not zero.
Okay. The sanctions were a predictable reaction. I think, right? Do you agree with that?
Well, you see,
Or is there just a severity? They're more severe than you thought they were
and
going to be?
again, this is I'm I'm a rational choice theorist. I believe that people in their decision making are acting rationally. So I think if the United States really wanted to have some kind of comprehensive peace negotiations and some comprehensive agreement on what security in Europe should be, then they should have engaged in negotiations and not just bluntly threatening the country with sanctions. So of course it was predictable. I mean, I wouldn't predict that those would be that harsh, because you see, here is a problem.
Yeah.
When I talk to Russian people, I basically get two lines of thought. One line of thought is that, well, we wish that war didn't happen. So basically, people don't like the war.
Mm-hmm.
But even more important line of thought among Russian people is that, yeah, but why do they impose sanctions against ordinary people? I mean, sanctions against Russian airline, against, the ban on exporting, parts for cars, right? On agricultural sector. Do they really think that, Vladimir Putin is going to local mechanic shop to fix his Zhiguli? No.
But you know the answer.
He's not doing that. No, I don't know the answer.
Well, I think the goal is to turn the people against the
But
leader.
it does exact the opposite. Because if you see, I mean...
But whether it works or not, that I would...
Well, everybody knows it wouldn't work. I mean, listen, if your government people tell you, look, Americans are bad, and they're out there to get Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Russian people.
Mm-hmm.
And all you see, America is out there imposing sanctions, which first and foremost are hurting Russian people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Ordinary people, people like you and me. No, if you have a little Chevrolet out there and something is broken and you can't get a part, you have no car to take your kids to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there are no imported seeds, for example, for Russian agricultural sector, you may end up in starvation.
Yeah, I definitely can see how
so
it would
all
backfire.
you do, you hurt people, and then people say, aha, so Russian leadership was right. Americans are bad. They're after ordinary folks, so we should support Russian leadership, right? See, this is completely...
I suppose, I think that I think you would have to admit that it does put pressure on Putin.
No, it doesn't.
It puts no pressure on Putin.
Absolutely not. It puts zero pressure on Vladimir Putin at this point. He's completely,
even you said there will be no normal banking, the rainy day fund. At some point, at some point,
again, look,
wouldn't
Russia is
military
not America. In Russia,
wouldn't a special military operation become too expensive to even carry out?
as I said, Russia has a history of essentially expending a lot of resources, human lives, and everything to defend itself, to defend its territory.
But
so, let me give you an example. Like,
Okay.
let's say, I don't know, Canada attacked the United States. And I know it sounds funny. And Americans would recognize it would take 10 million lives of American people to get North Dakota back, right? Would Americans be willing to have, 10 million people died just for North Dakota? Probably not. But in Russia, they would. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Russia has this very sort of strong feelings about not being pushed around.
I know, but I don't think he's worried about somebody like me getting a part for his Chevy. I think he's worried about somebody getting a part for a tank. I would just wouldn't military operations eventually become just logistically
No,
impossible?
in fact, you see, this is actually a very, very good question.
Okay.
Pretty much all of the military stuff in Russia is localized. It's all made in Russia out of Russian parts
Mm-hmm.
and done very well. In fact, if you look at the Russian arms sales in the world market, they're doing pretty good there. However, everything that consumers consume the building materials, the seeds for wheat, cars, airplanes that they fly. This is all pretty much imported.
Okay, so you're saying it could, or you believe it will backfire, where normal life is becomes impossible, and the only thing that is still functioning is the military.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Soviet Union, according to U.S. estimates, was spending, think about this number, up to 86% of its GDP on military.
Yeah.
86% of its GDP was one way or another connected to the military. Russians know very well how to turn the country into basically one gigantic military operation.
Mm-hmm.
And the more US imposes sanctions like that, the more popular support Russian leadership gets in turning this into one gigantic military exercise. So US is basically shooting itself in the foot by imposing those sanctions if they want peace in Europe.
It turns the people against.
Of course, because
NATO.
they hurt ordinary people and
Yeah.
not the government. Okay, I think we got maybe a couple minutes left. So
Okay,
if
sure.
anyone has a question or something, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. And if I see one that seems relevant or insightful, I'll read it out. Okay, well, it basically sounds like you are on Russia's side. I mean, I know you're a citizen, but you're a dual citizen?
Yeah.
Do you feel conflicted at all?
Look, I dearly love both countries. I love the United States.
Yeah.
I have 4 children. They're all born in the United States, and they all love the United States. And I dearly love Russia. And I think that what we are seeing now is not just heartbreaking. It's an absolute tragedy. And it's actually worse.
Yeah, well, I know war's bad,
Yeah.
special military operations are bad. But you're saying that
You want me to take sides?
I want to I want to know if you are. I'm not asking you to. I'm just curious if you are, because most Americans are taking a side.
Again, maybe I'm not, most American. I draw a big separation between people of the country and its government.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that in this particular case,
Mm-hmm.
U.S. government made a mistake by refusing to negotiate with Russia over some fairly reasonable requests that they made. That's my point.
So you feel that the blame for the bloodshed falls mostly on Biden or on the U.S. government?
No, I would not say that. Again, you see, there are goals and there are processes.
Okay.
What I am saying is that, again, I'm talking about facts.
Yeah.
And it's up to, the lawyers and the international courts or whatever.
Well, I'm more
to
asking about like kind of you personally, I guess how you feel.
I personally feel really bad that West didn't realize what Russia was trying to do.
Protect itself.
Yeah, pushed them away.
Yeah.
And that sort of generated the chain of events, right? Which led us to an extremely tragic situation where we see innocent people dying, and that should stop immediately, right? We should do everything we possibly can in our power to stop that. I feel horrible about that. But again,
And so what would you like to see happen?
I would like the war to end.
By what means? Well, about what do you think is possible at this point?
Max,
Yeah.
this is way above my pay grade.
Okay, understood. I guess a different question is, I assume you are somewhat active on social media, or your kids are. I assume you have somewhat.
No, I do not have any social media accounts.
Okay, well, good for you. That's probably smart. What do you think of the kind of general American narrative now? It seems there is some polarization where conservatives, Trump has said that the invasion was genius, but and some Trump supporters are kind of riding the line a little bit, but generally there seems to be an anti-Putin sentiment.
Well, let me leave your viewers with the following thought.
Yeah.
I miss I genuinely miss in this particular conflict two people, two world leaders, presence of whom would probably prevent the war. One of them is Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel was a true European leader who had good chemistry and psychological kind of connection with Putin, and she was really helping to smooth the edges around the European politics. She was from East Germany, German Democratic Republic, where Vladimir Putin served as a KGB officer during the Soviet times. They kind of connected with each other at the
She was a bridge.
yeah, she was the bridge.
Yeah.
And the other, you may laugh at me or you may disagree with me, was Donald Trump.
Okay.
Because with all the kind of smokescreen and noise about Donald Trump, one thing he actually was good at, he was good at making connections with Putin. He, again, if you look at the facts, he imposed some of the harshest sanctions on Russia. He was not good to Russia. By no means he was Putin's puppet. But he was the person whom Putin could talk to. I mean, and and of course, another kind of side bonus here is that Donald Trump felt the same about NATO as Vladimir Putin, that NATO doesn't need to be there. I mean, ultimately, why should American taxpayers support, European socialism by allowing Europeans to spend their money on various public benefits instead of on their defense? That's essentially what NATO is about.
I think the progressive view of Putin and Trump is that Trump is the bludgeon that Putin used to kind of disorganize or embarrass our country on the world stage.
This is very naive. This is very naive view. Again, I'm not making any normative or qualitative judgment about Donald Trump.
Okay.
But I am saying that in that particular instance, right?
You think he served as one of?
I think if he received the request from,
he would have said yes.
Yeah, he would say yes.
Okay.
He'd say, yeah, Vladimir, I mean, who needs Ukraine and NATO? I'm going to disband NATO anyway. That's probably what he said.
We have a nuclear war question from the chat.
Okay.
You want to answer it?
What's the question?
I've never heard nuclear war rhetoric. It gave me anxiety to hear Putin say several times he would nuke everyone. Ask him what this signals.
Well, look, I'm not a fly in the wall in that bunker, and especially I'm not a fly in the wall in Russian leader's mind. But again, as a game theorist, as a rational choice theorist, I'm sitting here and thinking, well, once you pin your opponent into the corner and leave him no cards to play except for one, is there a probability that he will play that card? Yes. How big this probability? I have no idea. But this probability is out there. In my opinion. Okay, are we done?
I think I have a couple. I mean, do you want to be done? I have more questions if you want to keep
Well,
going.
maybe. How about one last question?
One last question. Okay. Okay, here's a question. It's sort of about the organization of the Russian government and military. Putin is seen in the U.S. as a dictator, or strongman, autocrat, whatever. How much of this decision is Putin's decision alone, the decision to invade?
Again, I wasn't flying the wall, but if I were to make an assumption, I would assume that it was his decision.
In his alone?
I believe so. I do believe so. That's sort of in tradition of Russian politics and successful Russian leaders. They're always, without exception, kind of strong-hand men.
Yeah.
Russia, again, traditionally, culturally, is not doing well under weak leadership. So the role of the leader in Russian history is very important.
Weak. You are implying that a decentralized
Yeah, basically,
power structure is weak.
Somebody who is, by say, American definition, would be not a dictator, right?
Oh, like Biden. Oh, like, are you saying that the three branches of U.S. government and
No, I'm not talking about the U.S. I'm talking about Russia. But I'm saying
you're
that
saying that Russia needs a more
basically in our
autocrat
culture,
kind of
in our
deal?
tradition, historically, and I'm talking about facts, not norms here. The facts are that Russia has been usually prospering and doing well under strong
Under one man.
authoritarian leadership.
Okay.
And once the sort of some leader would let things loose, then chaos would occur.
Also, the Russian definition of doing well, as you pointed out, sacrificing 10 million people to save North Dakota is very different from the American definition.
Exactly. But again, this is we have Russia and the United States have completely different sort of historical, cultural, and other kind of perspectives on what it means to defend your own country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Max, thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm going to turn that camera off remotely, and I'll come thank you. Chat, I will be back in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you answering some of the trickier questions.
Well, no, somebody should really, I think, again, the trouble with US media is that they all have kind of one line,
Yeah.
and they will never sort of present you with some kind of holistic, objective picture.
Well, I appreciate you filling in the gaps.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Let me know if you need anything else.
Yes, sir. You too. And there you have it. There you have it, folks. Shaylin, we love you. Why are you talking to... Is Shaylin in the chat? She better not be. We have an agreement about that. No, we don't. Well... Oh my God, I know where you live. Yeah, don't say where I live. Appreciate it. This guy was basically a Russian diplomat. What is the point of the split screen if he's in the same room? Oh, social distancing. Check it out. Oh, never mind. This camera, the depth of field is wide enough that I'll dox myself if I turn the camera around. But yeah, social distancing. He's sitting like 15 feet away from me or something. The windows are open, the doors are. I wanted to do this safely, you know. $5. That was weird and scary. I'm upset to hear about your Twitch ban. Have some money about it. Yeah, I had to resist the urge to. As soon as I got banned, I wanted to make a big tweet announcement and then go live and say, I got banned, everybody. I'm persecuted. And then, yes, just get all the money and fame and power. And then, but the problem is if I do that and I get unbanned 2 days from now, you're going to feel violated. I do think I'm going to get unbanned. So in doing a free speech victim tour seemed, seemed irresponsible. Hi, Mr. Girl, says Stardust. Hello, Dusty. Welcome to YouTube. It's a platform. YouTube's a streaming platform too. How long is your ban? I don't know. They haven't even emailed me to say that I am banned. I just can't log into my account. And it says it was removed. Mr. Girl, more guests for balance. Yeah. I was like, I thought a university professor. I didn't know he was still a Russian citizen. I thought he was an expat, but I thought a university professor, I assumed was going to skew so liberal, but it or not liberal, like American almost. Um, but yeah, it was very interesting to hear the other perspective. So for balance, I don't know. Maybe this guy was the balance. I feel like if you want balance, you can listen to anybody else talk about this. I will look for more interviewees though, for sure. But I don't think I'll choose them based on their views. I think it'll be because I mean you know what the narrative is in the U.S. and you know what the narrative is there. I assume that was a probably Americanized version of a popular Russian narrative. But it's good because the way we hear about it, you keep thinking like, well, like, are they fucking crazy? Like, how can you support that, or how can you even think that this is appropriate? But and how can anybody think that what the U.S. is doing is wrong? And I think that we got our answer. So that was illuminating for me, anyway. Do I know why I was banned? Don't. BX Bullet is not the enemy. Look, anytime I come to a new platform, I think there's going to be some growing pains because people who are not familiar with my content, and I assume that this applies to Twitch mods. Ooh, let me turn that other microphone off. No reason to have that on. Which, yeah, oh, yeah. Anytime I come to a new platform, Twitch, the mods are going to have to go through the same, like a lot of you guys are, you say you're fans now, but you say, when I first heard of you, I thought you were a insane person. I thought you were a pedophile. I thought you were a rapist. I thought you were racist. I thought you were crazy. Whatever. I thought you psychologically abused your girlfriend. Whatever. And then you get to know me and you see none of those things are true at all. And I think that Twitch mods are probably going through the same thing, and Twitch community is going to go through the same thing. So there was a big pushback at first, then they kind of loosened up, and then I think they saw an in with the POCD interview and then shot their shot. So BX Bullet specifically, I don't think is the issue. I think that I was probably mass reported, and that if she hadn't said something, somebody else would have. I'm obviously, I'm not happy with her tweeting about me that way, but or calling people to ban me. But she's not the enemy. Misunderstanding Mr. Girl is the enemy, not a person, but a mistake. That's all. People just need to get to know me better and see that my heart's in the right place, that I'm a good person. I want to help you. And I have faith that the powers that be over at Twitch will eventually realize this. And they'll realize that letting Mr. Girl do his thing is what's best for everybody. Oh, $10. The first time I saw you, you very much creeped me out, but needed to see more. I've come to appreciate your thoughtfulness and deep engagement with the topics of discussion. Thank you. I appreciate that. And see, that's a good example of what I'm talking about. People get creeped out, they get uncomfortable, they freak out. I mean, when people first meet me, even in other contexts, even when I'm not talking about POCD, people get really weirded out by me. I just think it's a natural reaction to something about me, and they, you know, it just takes a while to get used to it, I guess. I mean, watch my first interview with Stardust. Even Dusty looked like she got the chills at first. Mr. Girl, your cult is ready and standing by to mob anyone you want for any reason, even bad reasons. Point him where you want. If it feels like a close to you, I will do it. I don't want a mob. No mobs. I don't need your help, weirdo. Oh, but you do. You're gonna have my help. Whether you want it or not, because you do need it. Yeah, you do need my help. I wasn't freaked out by you. You didn't seem... Yeah, you seemed like... emotionally activated, though. It seemed like you were like, holy shit. Not like... I guess I just read that as fear. What was it, Dusty? You just felt you were sad. You felt sad for me because I'm such a sad person. Maybe that's why people are scared of me. Maybe they're scared of the sadness that they see. They're afraid they're going to be sad too if they talk to me too much. Hope we don't all get nuked so I can keep seeing more of your streams. Thanks. And thanks for the $5. And for £5. Why do all the Russian propagandists do the not making normative statements crap? On the American side, everyone admits they're anti-Russia. I don't think that's quite fair. I think that when you ask someone why they're anti-Russia, it's not like, because I fucking hate the ethnicity of the Russian people. It's obviously quickly turns into because whatever, because Putin's a bad person. Oh, you're saying he won't just say Biden's a bad person? Maybe because it's more convincing. I will say that I think that he was much more convincing in getting me to see it from his point of view than probably an American professor would be getting interviewed by a Russian, a pro-Putin Russian. It's not I think Russian propagandists might be better at propaganda. And not like just that they're lying. They might just be better at making arguments that may be unpalatable. I guess our argument... Americans just seem to always need to be right, and so it's probably easier for a Russian to be like, well, you know, if you... to equivocate, I guess. $5 from Fricking Art. I sent your video to my social worker mother, and she said he was manipulating them for showmanship. I hope he has lost his license. That's two fans who told me that their therapist mothers or social worker mothers were horrified by the Dr. K video. Yeah, I'm getting more and more comments from professionals about it. He's talking about Dr. K, by the way, for those of you who didn't immediately know that. $100 from R. Welch. Thank you so much. I don't care about any of these Twitch people or YouTubers. Please do a video game review or talk about your failed marriage. You'll be happy to know that there is a video coming, I think today, that might just interest you on the main channel. Point taken. I see your point. And I agree that there has been a little bit too much self-referential navel-gazing going on with my streaming content. And that we need to get back to business. And I kind of wanted this interview to be, well, in the POCD interview, I feel like I'm gonna get it under control. I could stop talking about myself. Thank you, and thank you for the $100. $10 from Nick Arbaugh. At first I thought you were a creep. Now I think we're all creeps. Yes. Yes. Right. I'm not saying I'm a pedophile. I'm saying you're a pedophile. That's it. That. Thank you. I appreciate it. $5 from Coach D. Is it wrong for me to give you money in order to feel acknowledged? It's not wrong. It's probably not the healthiest thing. I have nothing to add. I acknowledge your nothingness. Just feel conflicted about it, and this is all I can think of. Yeah. We can do this feedback loop all day. You can just keep sending me money, and I'll keep acknowledging your increasingly bad feelings about sending me money. Ooh, main channel content. Yeah, baby. God, I hope it's about Last of Us multiplayer. Yeah, I always wanted to do a Last of Us multiplayer review. I guess the longer I wait to do it, it's now been 9 years since it came out. Maybe by the 10th anniversary, I'll review The Last of Us. Rugal Migdal gave me $2.79 Canadian. Thank you. I don't know why the Canadian donations are always weird amounts. Every relationship is transactional. That's true. But you can use that to justify doing some pretty weird things. So I think some assessment of how transactional and what the transaction is and what it means for both parties is merited. And I don't know if you're implying it's not. I'm sure you're okay with me adding that. But yeah, just calling it transactional on its own is not enough to say anything really meaningful. I'm not creepy. I'm just sad. Yeah, I honestly think that is part of it. I think I have a deep sadness and rage in me that makes people... Or maybe it's fear. I don't know. Maybe people are afraid of how I feel. But also how they feel. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not talking about myself anymore. $9.99 from Zachary Brace. Thank you. I appreciate that. $9.99. I can buy a mop at Target or something. I appreciate it. $10. 1 penny more. From Devin. Twitch rules about not being able to even appear on someone else's stream when being banned are messed up. Hopefully you're unbanned soon. Yeah, I think it's messed up because also they clearly want it to be like a social thing. Like, oh, it's so fun to raid people. Like, make friends. Like, oh, make friends with Stardust. And then like, oh, actually, you can't interact with her anymore because then she'll get banned. And then also... yeah, just the idea of like work your own hours, do work for yourself, and then just the invisible ban hammer comes down, drops on you, and squishes you, and you know, yeah, it's fucked up. Six people watching, perfect. Why no Last of Us 2 multiplayer? I think they're developing it separately. You are pretty scary. Putin is a real jerk. That's what I think. Russia tends to be more successful under autocratic leaders. That's what he said. Mr. Girl is the type where if you met him in public, you'd want to hug him and not shake his hand, but hug him hard. Putin is a bad person. How long is your ban? I don't know. Oh, $2. Those are euros, not pounds. Yeah. Wait, what's the pound symbol? Oh, not $2. Two euros. I don't know why I said that. Oh, it's like, I know what the pound symbol is. I remember. I gotta get my shit together. Is it a permanent ban? I think Twitch bans for non-partners are all indefinite, so they're just like, yeah, we'll let you know. Yo, will we ever see more satirical writings? I mean, will I write more? I think I've tweeted the ones out that I've already written. I probably will write more at some point. I don't know. Your music is pretty dope, to be honest. Thank you. I appreciate that. You'll see more music soon, too. Semi-soon. I think. Yeah, I see the pound symbol. I know. Could you please put the "Daddy would never gaslight you" onto a shirt? I don't want a mug. Yes. I will put it on a shirt today. Sometime by late tonight. I'll put it on a shirt. Zachary Brace said through via R. Welch, "Can you say hello to my wife? Her name is Kristen, and she loves..." I'm just kidding. Kirsten. Hello, Kirsten. Thank you for loving my content. Happy birthday. They haven't emailed you or anything? No, Dusty, they have not emailed me. Twitch has not emailed me. Let me see. Make sure. Yeah, Twitch, no, nothing. I think your $6.99 from Rugal Migdal. Thank you again. I think your proposed talks with ethno-nationalists like Fuentes are all the more important in the context of this emerging Cold War and end of globalism. I don't know that I see that as being what's happening, but it's certainly being talked about and a possibility. And I also agree that talking to ethno-nationalists at this time is possibly important, but I also don't do so many interviews, and I think Richard Spencer was like a big spike of ethno-nationalism that I don't know if I'll be trying to talk to Fuentes in the immediate future, but at some point I would like to. Yeah. Twitch is being lame. In that music video where you talked about how the most fucked up thing is that I'm normal, how did you do that background night sky? If you're talking oh, that was just the sky. For most of it, that was the actual sky. Then the part where it starts swirling, I took a photo of the sky and then I swirled it in After Effects. But if you're talking about just the normal sky, that was just the sky. I didn't replace the sky. That was just my backyard. $10.01 from Joshua the Zealot. Oh, you already read that, and I already said that. You sent that a while ago. I didn't see the colors. Sorry. Thank you again. Fuentes is a joke and probably not a good representation of that movement. Richard Spencer was peak content. New music when? I don't know. Do you think that the statement that Russians need an autocrat to succeed is a bit of a racist comment against Slavic people? Seems antithetical to your views that we are all the same. I don't think he was talking about Russians, the race. I think he meant, given their history, the region, the position, like maybe the position of Russia compared to other countries, where they don't have the same benefit that the U.S. does in terms of not being able to be invaded by too many places. And maybe just a Russian mindset. I don't think it was about ethnicity. It could have been, but that's not what I thought. $5. Do you think you'll eventually talk to Medicare? I don't know. I have seen very little of him, so I have no idea. I would. Scrambly gave me £4, but said here's some euros. Wait, now I'm fucking confused. Yeah, you gave me. You're fucking with me. Well, thank you. That would have been funny if you guys were both wearing N95s. The whole reason I'm out here is because I didn't want to be in my office with a stranger. Also, he told me he'd been traveling recently, so I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't even go into the grocery store. There was that brief moment after I was vaccinated where, was the one before Omicron? Beta? What was it fucking called? Remember there was a variant and it like spread across the world? And it was like, it was before that anyway. OG COVID was still the main one, and I went into a grocery store. I think we went to a restaurant, and we went to see 2 movies. And then the first like big variant, Delta, yeah. Then Delta started spreading, and like before that and since then, like I've really not been out, not been anywhere, not done anything since March of 2020. And I will be god fucking damned if I'm gonna get COVID from an interview subject. So I moved my office out to the living room. That's why I've been here the last couple of days. But I'm gonna move it back in. Shaylin's not happy. She doesn't like it when my office is in the living room. There's like film shit all over the fucking house constantly. It's pretty annoying. The Sigma variant. COVID is over. Did you not get the memo? Truckers won. Yeah. Delta, oh, it's starting to stop raining. Snow bugs are flying in my house. Delta is the worst one. I don't think so. I think it's the most infectious, but definitely not the most deadly. I think Delta turned out to be a little less deadly than... I think the Delta surge might have been the worst moment. I don't know. I haven't looked at the deaths, but I think we just recently had the most deaths, but we're also having the most infections. So I don't know what you mean by worst. I think the kill rate of the first strain was probably the worst. Why are you not vegan yet, Mr. Girl? Because so far, I have decided to selfishly eat, murder, and enslave animals. 199 from Ninth Raven. Can you tell Destiny to stop playing League? I don't think Destiny likes being told what to do. Just a sense I get. Omicron is more infectious, right? Omicron's the most infectious, yeah. I guess it's the worst for me because I felt like with the original COVID, I felt like I probably wasn't going to get infected. With Omicron, I feel like I just saw in the news yesterday 140 million people have had COVID so far, which is like getting to halfway. What the fuck is this jar? This is my water. You should gaslight that dude into thinking he never asked you to do that when you don't put it on a shirt. If it's okay to do that selfishly, how can you condemn any other action that is similar, like rape and torture of humans? Well, it's not that selfishness is never okay. I'm not even saying that it's okay to not be vegan. I'm saying I'm choosing to. I feel like we got to break this into multiple parts. One is being vegan is probably the most moral choice, I would assume, unless there's some unforeseen consequence of veganism that I don't understand. However, I think into morality, self-care should be included in morality. I once had an argument with a client about whether jerking off is a moral good, and he kept saying that it's not. And he was saying I feel like I never do anything good. Like I feel like a waste. I just all I do is play video games and jerk off in my free time. And I was like, but maybe that is good. Maybe it's good for the world if you take care of yourself. Maybe jerking off is not actually good for other people too. And he wasn't super convinced by that. But I do think you have to weigh the benefit to your own health and happiness in your decision of whether to eat meat. That said, I still basically agree that it is a more moral thing to do to be vegan. But it's probably more moral to donate like 10% of my income to like an orphanage. But I don't do that. Like I'm not constantly doing the most moral thing at any given moment. But I find it very annoying when people need to argue that they are. So I will concede that it is probably more moral to be vegan. Almost certainly. And that I am selfishly choosing not to be. Rape. Now, if somebody said, well, it's self-care. While rape may be self-care, and there's a strong argument for that, it is selfish to an extent that I would say it should be condemned. I condemn rape. Here and now, I'm willing to commit to that. So, yeah, it's a spectrum of how selfish something is and how destructive it is to other people and other animals. And I hear a lot of vegans be like, every life is precious. I'm like, I don't believe you that you think that a cow's life is as important as a human's life. And even though it's disturbing to weigh those against each other, and I can understand why it's disturbing, sometimes you make decisions and you have to. And so, like, if you want to try to not kill any animal or participate in the enslavement or murder of any animal, I think that is good. Just don't do it out of self-harm or because you don't think you're important. And for myself, I do think about it. And we started buying a quarter of beef every year. So we buy like 100 pounds of beef a year now, which is both more horrible, but also, I think, better for the environment. My solution to the dilemma of whether I want to be vegan is to buy 100 pounds of beef a year. That's where I'm at right now. People get killed over cows here in India. That's true. Different cultures have different views of the sacredness of cows. So brave, yeah. Controversial take. I know, Stardust, that this is going to strain our friendship if I say that rape is bad. And it's not anything against you personally. It's just my own personal opinion, and I'm not trying to push it on anybody else. Dylan Burns interviewed another Russian this week, and he refused to say Russia invaded Ukraine. He could only call it a special mission. Yeah, this guy said that. I wanted to acknowledge that. I don't want to say like it completely invalidates whatever you say, but like effectively, if every Russian, especially every Russian intellectual, has a gun to their head anytime they're in public, it's not very convincing to be like, oh yeah, Putin's a great guy. there is a gun to my head. I could be jailed for what I say in this conversation because he's an autocratic dictator who punishes people and kills them, even for disagreeing with him. But, and like, so that's happening, and it's going to dictate my word choice in this conversation. But also, I personally agree with what he's doing. That said, I think that if he actually didn't agree, he probably just wouldn't do the interview. Like, if you don't like what Putin's doing, I don't think you're gonna go on a live stream and just say that you do or defend it. But it does make his popularity pretty hard to gauge. What is your opinion on Vosh continuing to call you a pedo, especially with his past history as such as saying a girl was not because she was hot because she looked like a lolly? I assume that's what that was. I think Vosh, based on our conversation, is not prepared for a pedo brawl with me. You want to go pedo to pedo? We can do it, baby. Right here, right now. I think he is probably less comfortable with himself and his latent feelings about just sex in general. He just seems like a kind of uptight, uncomfortable guy trying to control how he's perceived, and I don't think that's going to suit him in a brawl with me. Hi, Mr. Girl. My friend Steven introduced you to me, and it's been great watching all your thoughtful stuff. Are you thinking about betraying him yet? No, betraying Destiny is not on the docket. I would never betray Destiny. You should read BX Bullets Twit longer. All right. All right, motherfucker. You want me to read the twit longer? I'll read the twit longer. There better be one. If you're teasing me. And I'm going to talk more about Vosh in a second, too. That motherfucker's going to catch it. But first, let's see what this BX bullet shit. Oh my god. There is a twit longer. Mr. Girl. I said I wasn't going to talk about this drama shit. R. Welch paid me $100 to not do this. Fuck. We're just going to get through it really quick. Then we're going to talk about Bosch. Then we're going to get back to the real issues. Fuck. Just don't watch my streams. The streams are going to be mostly shit. This is my job. This is my Walmart. This is my Walmart, okay? My art is on the main channel. Fuck you, R. Welch. Give me $100. Fuck you. I'm going to wipe my ass with that $100. Here we go. Regarding Mr. Girl from BX Bullet TV, twit longer. Oh, God. I slept on it. Oh, God. I slept on it and woke up this morning with a fresh mind. Oh, fuck Max Carson. Stay banned. Okay. You've gone back to your original position. You've reversed on all of your apologies. Is this? I said I didn't accept your apology. Does that mean you didn't mean your apology? I didn't mean to get him banned. Okay. Oh, the rest of it is just lyrics to "I'm a pedophile." Max Carson. A lot of children ask me stupid fucking questions, like if I rape little kids or if I believe in it. Well, shit. If you believe that, I'll rape you. You know why? Because I'm a pedophile. These are good lyrics. I got to skin it for mistakes. My words are like a zip tie with a plastic edge. It'll tie you to my bed whether you're 8, 9, or 10. Pubescent, fuck kids. The answer is yes. Heterophobic. No, you're just pedophobic. Staring at my hard drive. My collection is growing. That's my motherfucking child porn. You better let go of it. They belong in my folder. You never get hold of it. Hey, it's me, Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone respects me. I'm just kidding myself. Get it? Kidding myself? You're already banned. You should be getting some help. Committed, medicated, or just sitting in jail. Oh my God, you tweeted out the lyrics making fun of you. Come on, relax, guys. I like shaved lips. I like Shaylin. That's my girlfriend. I don't like shaved lips. Oh, shaved lips. No. No. You're not. You shouldn't shave your pubic hair. I like a big, fluffy, fucking forest to explore. Right, bitch? Give me an amen. Max, stop. Puts pacifier in girl's mouth. That's not just a girl. That's the love of my life. Rumor has it Mr. Girl has a few abusive habits and I'm late for work because I'm stuck in human traffic. Yeah, play Smash Brothers. I play Smash Sisters, Smash Daughters, and Nieces and Nephews, smash into pieces. And I wear white Vans and I drive one too. Come on, kid. I got some V-Bucks for you. Cha-ching. Y'all can send me these death threats and tell me to fuck off. I don't care if I get docs. Already got my rocks off. I'm so damn spent. Can't even pay my rent. Haters get bent like the fucking age of consent. Cause age is just a number. Jail's just a place. FBI, this song right here. Not this son. Yeah, I'm your worst nightmare. They call me school shooter, but not with a gun. I'm gonna come find you and then I'm gonna come. So show me that PP. It's LGBTP. Watching cuties on repeat. Be beating my meat. Fixated on the blonde one. She got a good figure. I said, damn. Call my right hand the wood chipper. I'm burning this track. Arson, first name Max. Oh, you look lost. Oh shit, I found you a map. Call me Wreck-It Ralph. I'm sweating while I touch a child. Cheshire smile. Wet Cheshire smile. Not crack a smile. Wet and wild. Yes, vile. Bitch, I'm a pedophile. Okay. Well, I didn't think I was going to say this, but I agree with your twit longer. You like the bush. Yeah. I do like bush. I don't think I think I'm gonna say women shouldn't wear makeup, but they should shave their vaginas. I don't think women should even shave their armpits or their arms or their legs. I'm anti-shaving. Jesus. Deal with it. Thread muted. Augie said, you're fucking insane, Lamau. Okay. My read on BX Bullet. Max Dusty. Thank you. Max being pro Bush is unironically making him less of a pedo than the majority of men. Yeah, I don't get it. Why would you want your partner's vagina to look like a little kid's vagina? I don't understand that. I like hairy, strong, big, fucking sweaty, smelly women. I like a big, strong, dirty woman with follicles pushing out that sweet, musky hair everywhere. I know, hypocrite. Where's your beard? You'll find out. What's a Cheshire smile? Cheshire, like the Cheshire cat in Alice in Wonderland. It's like that. The cat that grins. It scares. It's like scary. Oh yeah, my view on BX Bullet at this point is that she's just a little unhinged and extremely sensitive. She said to me and in public that she's been triggered by some things that are happening lately, and so my jokes are triggering her. I think that people sometimes, when you make provocative content and it connects to something in their life, they're going to take it out on you. It's also apparently easier to take it out on me than whoever she's actually mad at, who she keeps saying there's somebody else she's trying to get banned, so she's going to ban me instead. It's not personal. It's not really about me. So, obviously I get emotional about it, but whatever. Same thing with Vosh, honestly. He's upset that people called him a pedophile because of some shit he said, and shit he seems to say when he gets really angry. He starts ranting about kids, and you know, he's taking it out on me. It's not personal. I still would like to talk to you, Vosh. If you see this, the door is still open. And my door is literally open. Vosh, if you walk in through this door right now, You can sit next to me and we can talk. Mr. Girl, any news on a YouTube streaming contract? Does that exist? Are you fucking with me? I want a contract. I want somebody to talk to at these companies so I can explain myself. Oh, she's talking about Destiny? She's talking about when she's saying that the person, the abuser, she's trying to get banned. She's talking about, oh. Well, yeah, don't take your shit with Destiny out on me. But that's... I thought she was talking about like an actual abuser. So, whatever. I don't feel that this reflects on me, and I don't care that much. I do want to get unbanned, but I think this was inevitable. Twitch needs a list of people who bad faith report so they can avoid this nonsense. I want Twitch to have a list of people who get bad faith reported on, and I just want to be on it. And then so when Mr. Girl gets a bunch of reports for child endangerment, you can like just check the VOD and see that that didn't happen or whatever. Yes, but not if you're banned from Twitch. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I think that wraps this up for now. I'm going to go edit. The main channel video should be out in the next 24 hours. Thank you all for coming. If we've got more Russia-Ukraine experts, any of you know in the audience, feel free to DM or email me. I would like to keep covering this through interviews. As I said, I don't know nearly enough about it to pontificate, and I would like to learn about it with you. Yeah. So let's keep learning. There's an actual pedo who blackmailed BX Bullet with her daughter's pictures. Okay. Based on this recent behavior, I am inclined to not know if whatever she says is true. If you're saying that's a fact, I'm much more inclined to believe it. But I feel like I don't know. I'm curious to hear more about it. I'm sad that I can't raid Stardust. How is it the end of a stream if we don't raid Stardust? Go watch Stardust stream. Twitch.tv/Stardust. Thank you for coming.